July 2026. A grocery store parking lot in Southern California. Amy Mickelson walks to her car, and for the first time in 30 years, her left hand is bare. No ring, no band, nothing. Just skin where gold used to sit. That single photograph broke something in the golf world that no scandal, no gambling debt, no LIV golf civil war ever managed to break. Because Phil and Amy were the protocol. They were the one fixed rule everyone believed in. 30 years, 3 kids, cancer, rehab, the whole world turning on him. She stayed. Every single time, she stayed. So when people say she tore up the lifetime marriage protocol, that is not a headline. That is a 30-year contract ripped in half on a Tuesday afternoon in front of a camera lens. Here is what I need you to understand. Amy did not take that ring off because of one bad week. She did not take it off over a rumor. There is a reason, a specific, documented, ugly reason, and it involves more than one person. By the time I finish, you will know exactly who did what, where it happened, and why Amy finally walked away from the one thing she swore she would never leave. My gut says Amy knew long before the cameras caught her hand. Tell me if you think the same in the comments. If you want the real story and not the sanitized version, hit subscribe. This channel does not do press releases. What most people do not know is that the reason behind that missing ring did not start with a single incident. It started at a place every San Diego golfer recognizes, and the woman involved was not a stranger to the Mickelson name, the Farms. That is the place. A private club in Rancho Santa Fe where membership costs more than most people earn in a year, and where Phil spent his time when he was not chasing tournaments or dodging reporters. In early July, Golf Digest published a report that named the club directly. A woman came forward. A woman who worked inside that clubhouse, who poured coffee and checked tee times and greeted members by name every single morning. She was not a stranger passing through. She was part of the daily fabric of a place Amy considered home. She knew Amy's order at the clubhouse grill. She knew which locker belonged to which family. She was the kind of person who made a private club feel like a second living room, and that familiarity is exactly what made what happened next so difficult to process. What Phil did to her, the specific details of that encounter, I will get to, because those details matter. They matter for what they did to this woman, and they matter for what they did to Amy when the words finally reached her. What I can tell you right now is this. Phil lost the Farms. His membership, gone. His access, revoked. 30 years of status in San Diego golf circles, stripped away because of one afternoon in a clubhouse. And the worst part for Amy was not reading about it in a magazine. It was hearing about it first from friends, from other members' wives, from the quiet, brutal way information moves through a country club when everyone knows but nobody wants to be the one to say it out loud. She heard it over the phone. She heard it at a charity lunch. She heard it in the way people looked at her and then looked away. Rancho Santa Fe is not a big place. The families who live there have known each other for generations. The women who run the charity committees, who organize the junior clinics, who sit on the same patio after a Saturday round, they talk. And when one of their own is accused of touching a woman who serves their coffee, that conversation does not wait for a press release. Amy was the last to hear the full version, and she heard it from people who could not look her in the eye while saying it. In a community that small, being the last to know is its own kind of humiliation. It means everyone else had already processed it, already whispered about it, already decided what they thought, and Amy was still walking around believing the world made sense. Phil lost his club over what he did, yet what still hangs over this story, like a wedge shot stuck in the trees, is the second woman, and she was not a clubhouse employee. Before I name her, you need to understand exactly what happened inside that clubhouse, because the details are what turned this from a private embarrassment into a public reckoning. Golf Digest cited multiple sources. The report stated that Phil approached the woman at the clubhouse. He made physical contact with her. Not a handshake, not a pat on the back. Non-consensual, inappropriate physical contact. She rejected him. She told him no. And that rejection, that single word from a woman who was just doing her job, set off a chain of events that would end with Phil banned from a club he had walked through for decades. The employee reported it, the club investigated, and the decision came down. Phil Mickelson was no longer welcome. Think about that for a second. This is not a public course. This is not a place where you just show up and play. The Farms is a community, a social ecosystem. Getting banned from it is not like losing a gym membership. It is being exiled from a world where your name carried weight, where your presence meant something, where Amy had built relationships over years of charity events and junior tournaments and holiday parties. The woman who came forward did not just lose an afternoon of comfort. She lost the safety of a workplace. And Amy lost the illusion that her husband's worst days were behind him. The Farms was where Amanda learned to swing a club, where Sophia hit her first driver off the practice tee, where Evan caddied for Phil during a member guest event. Every family memory in that place is now stained by what happened in a clubhouse hallway. One woman said no, and Phil lost a world. Yet the next woman who came forward cost him something far harder to replace than a club membership. Her name is Ashley Perez. She is the ex-wife of Pat Perez, a man who played on the PGA Tour for over 20 years, who competed in the same events as Phil, who shared practice rounds and locker rooms and dinner tables during tournament week. Ashley was not a stranger. She was not a random accuser surfacing from nowhere. She sat across from Amy at tour functions. She was part of the same social circle, the same WAG network, the same tight-knit community that follows professional golf from city to city. During tournament week, the wives and girlfriends travel together, share meals in the hospitality tents, watch from the same grandstands, and celebrate or console each other depending on how the round went. Ashley was in those tents. She was on those grandstands. She was close enough to Amy to be considered a friend, or at least someone you trusted enough to sit next to for 4 days straight. In a report published by Alan Shipnuck, Ashley alleged that in 2015, Phil showed her a photograph of his erect penis and propositioned her. She was married to Pat at the time. She was part of the family, and she carried that secret for 11 years before speaking publicly. 11 years of sitting in the same rooms as Phil, watching him play, watching Amy cheer from the gallery, knowing what he had done and saying nothing, until now. The timing is not accidental. Ashley came forward in the same week the Golf Digest report dropped. 2 women, 2 separate incidents, 1 pattern, and Amy, who had spent 30 years defending her husband to every skeptic and every critic, was now staring at a picture she could not unsee. Think about what that means for Amy personally. Ashley was not a name in a newspaper. She was a woman Amy had hugged at Ryder Cup dinners, a woman she had stood next to on the 18th green at the Travelers Championship, a woman whose kids played with Amanda and Sophia at tour events. Every time Amy looked at Ashley between 2015 and 2026, she was looking at someone who held a secret about her husband, and now that secret is public, and Amy has to reckon with the fact that it was hidden in plain sight for over a decade. 2 women, 2 incidents, 11 years of silence broken in a single week, and what came next from Phil's side made the ring photo 10 times worse. Phil's spokesperson released a response within days. The statement said Amy was supporting him with unwavering love. 3 words. Unwavering love. Read them again, because 4 days after that statement hit the wire, Amy Mickelson was photographed in that grocery store parking lot, and the ring was gone. Unwavering love does not remove a wedding band. Unwavering love does not let the whole world see an empty finger. Either the statement was a lie written by a publicist to protect Phil's image, or Amy's position changed between Monday and Friday, and Phil himself did not stay quiet. He called the reporting a drive-by shooting. He denied showing anyone a photograph. He denied being forced out of any club. He denied that Amy pressured him to leave. He went full combat mode, swinging at every outlet, every journalist, every source. Here is what he did not deny. He did not deny that Amy took the ring off. He did not deny that their marriage was in crisis. He did not address the photograph of her bare hand. Not once. Not a single word about the woman he has been married to since 1996. The golf media noticed. Writers who had covered Phil for 20 years pointed out the gap. He had an answer for every allegation except the one about his wife. He could fight a reporter. He could fight a club. He could fight a woman who came forward. He could not look at the camera and explain why Amy's hand was empty. Other players' wives stayed silent publicly, but privately, the conversations were happening. Group chats that had existed for years went quiet. Dinner invitations that used to include Amy stopped arriving. The social infrastructure that had held the Mickelson name in place for 3 decades was quietly being dismantled, one unreturned phone call at a time. He denied every allegation, except the one thing every camera in Southern California had already captured, and his silence about that bare finger spoke louder than any spokesperson ever could. Now step back from the allegations for a moment. Step back from the reports and the denials and the press releases. Think about who Amy is in this story. In 2009, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. 37 years old, 3 children at home. Phil stepped back from golf. He missed tournaments. He sat in hospital rooms. He held her hand through treatments that left her barely able to stand. The golf world rallied around them. Fans sent letters. Players wore pink. For one season, Phil Mickelson was not a competitor. He was a husband, fighting for his wife's life. And she survived. She beat it. And when Phil's gambling addiction surfaced, when reports emerged that he had lost hundreds of millions, when the entire sports world looked at him with disgust, Amy did not leave. She stood beside him at the Masters. She stood beside him at the Ryder Cup. She stood beside him when he jumped to LIV Golf and half the fan base called him a traitor. Through all of it, the ring stayed on. Through cancer, through debt, through public hatred, through the slow erosion of his legacy, the ring stayed. Remember the 2021 PGA Championship at Kiowa Island? Phil was 50 years old. Nobody gave him a chance. Amy was in the gallery every single round. When he hoisted the Wanamaker Trophy, she was the first person he looked for in the crowd. That image was everywhere. It was the proof that the protocol held, that no matter how far he fell, she was the ground he landed on. Remember also the 2014 Open Championship at Hoylake. Phil was chasing Rory McIlroy all week. Amy walked every fairway in the wind and rain, and when he finished second, she was the one who handed him his jacket and said nothing, because nothing needed to be said. That was the protocol. No speeches, no drama, just presence. 30 years of protocol held because Amy believed the worst was always behind them. Cancer did not take the ring off her finger. Gambling did not. LIV did not. And the one thing that finally did has no recovery, no rehab, no second chance. The fallout from all of this is still unfolding, and it is reaching further than most people realize. Phil's reputation was already fractured. The gambling cost him credibility. LIV cost him the goodwill of the PGA Tour faithful. The alienation from fellow players cost him the locker room. But those were professional wounds. They healed with time. They healed with birdies. This is different. This is personal. This is a woman in a clubhouse and a wife at a dinner table, and no amount of short game magic fixes what those 2 allegations have done to the way people look at Phil Mickelson when he walks into a room. The sponsorship implications are real. The tournament invitations are in question. The social access that once opened every door in San Diego golf is closing one by one, and Amy's absence from his side is the loudest signal of all. She has not been seen at an event since the ring came off. She has not posted. She has not commented. Her silence is not the silence of someone standing by her man. It is the silence of someone who has already made a decision and is waiting for the paperwork to catch up. Amanda, Sophia, and Evan are adults now. They have their own lives. But they are watching their mother walk away from the only family structure they have ever known, and they are doing it without a single public statement from either parent. That silence from the children says as much as any interview could. They are not defending their father. They are not issuing statements of support. They are quiet, and in a family where the father has always been the loudest voice, that quiet is its own verdict. Every door in professional golf is closing for Phil, yet the one door that mattered most was already shut by the time the cameras caught her hand. So here is where we land. You wanted to know why Amy Mickelson tore up the lifetime marriage protocol. Now you know. It was not one thing. It was a female employee at the farms who said no and was not heard. It was Ashley Perez carrying an 11-year secret until the weight became unbearable. It was a spokesperson typing the words unwavering love while Amy was already reaching for the clasp on her ring. It was Phil calling the truth a drive-by shooting instead of looking his wife in the eye. 30 years of protocol. 30 years of standing beside him through every storm the world could throw. And it ended in a grocery store parking lot on a Tuesday with no announcement, no press conference, no explanation, just a bare finger and a camera lens. The protocol was not torn up in a single moment. It was torn up slowly, one betrayal at a time, until there was nothing left to hold together. No comeback interview fixes this. No major championship erases it. Phil Mickelson will be remembered for his short game, his 6 majors, his love of the fans. But the last chapter of his story is not being written on a golf course. It is being written in an empty ring finger and a silence that has lasted longer than any press conference. Did Amy make the right call? Or is there any version of this where they come back from it? Drop your take below, and if you made it this far, subscribe and I will see you at the next tee box.